Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff. My name is Jason and this is the August Roundup. So our first video of the month was a focus on tools video, which was the paint mixer, and usually you can find stacks and stacks of those things at model shows. So I guess for most experienced modeler there was no new news there, but if you're new to the hobby and wondering about mixing paint, that was what that video was really aimed at. And those focus on tools videos are really aimed at the novice, the person that's perhaps new to the hobby or indeed returning to the hobby, where this massive minefield of tools that you can get these days can be quite daunting, knowing what's a good tool, what's not a bad tool. And that's why we do those videos, to try and help people out. And that's why we do some videos that some people might go, really? You really need to do a video on that? So yeah, it's all aimed at the entry back into the hobby type of modeler, and we carry on that theme this month. We looked at the Tamiya jar stand. You know, it's a nice to have if you've not got much space, and then just to prove that I'm not crackers, we looked at the Nutcracker, and actually it's a really good tool, and it means if you've got one of those, you don't have to spend lots of money on silly bottle top openers that only open one type of bottle top. So yeah, although it's aimed at the sort of the beginner modeler, I think those videos have value for those people new to the hobby. And actually the Nutcracker got quite a lot of good response, and it was the same with the first airbrush video. It's really aimed at someone who doesn't know anything about airbrush, maybe watched a few videos about it, thinking about buying one. Where do I begin? And I think, you know, there is lots of people out there probably in that position, so hopefully they were helpful. When it came to first impression videos, the first one we looked at was the Tamiya 1350 Cruiser Tone, and that really set the tone for the rest of the month, as we had quite a very Japanese focused month, really. But I think some people that perhaps haven't bought a Tamiya ship for a while were working on the assumption that Tamiya ships are like every other Tamiya kit, and in a way they are, and in a way they're not. So I would been wanting to get a Tamiya ship kit review out for a little while, because I see a lot of people posting on Facebook when someone asks the question, what's the best ship kit to buy? People will put one word up, Tamiya, and that's not right. The ship model genre is very complex. There is no such thing as a perfect kit, is my start point. But Tamiya are now behind other manufacturers in their approach in certain areas. And I think one or two people were took by surprise based on the commentary that I got back. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Tone kit is a lovely kit, and if you go to town on it, it will look absolutely special. And with Mogami running this month, and we've gone out of the box mainly with that. We'll talk more about her in a sec. I'm trying to show what is pretty much the build out of the box. There's one or two things I just can't leave them. A radar that's a block of plastic, can't leave it. Having no railings, can't leave it. But what I'm trying to do is show you this is what the basic kit is, and then when we come to do a Tone, or I've got one or two other Tamiya kits, certainly I've got one other recent Tamiya kit, and we go to town on it with a full HD detail set, you'll be able to see the difference. But the Tone review gives you an idea of what to expect generally from all Tamiya kits. You will get those horrid plastic ladders, you will get those great big cheese wedge ladders that are moulded in. You'll get areas where there's no detail where there really should be, and you'll get lots and lots of beautiful detail on things like the hull, and you'll have some amazing engineering almost over-engineered. You really need those mechanical fasteners to hold the decks and things together. They can actually cause problems if you over-tighten them. So that was an interesting review which kicked off the rest of the month, really. I think the next first impressions was HMS Westminster, the trumpeter kit. Not a bad little kit, really. Didn't look as oversized as their Type 45 destroyer, which is one of their earlier kits anyway. So yeah, not a bad little kit. Can build that up in next to no time, relatively speaking, for a ship. So yeah, that looked quite good. Looking forward to getting tucking into that at some point. Then the next first impressions video, well, that actually took me by surprise. The Airfix 1350 HMS Illustrious. That really took me by surprise. That was as popular a video as the Tone video was, and Japanese Tamiya usually will push you along a little bit further in terms of viewing figures than most other things, but not the case. Illustrious got quite a lot of interest. So the kit is still out there. I mean, I saw one on eBay for £30 the other day. At the start of bidding, there's no way it went at that. Usually they go for around about 100 or so. That's not a bad price for what you're getting there. It's a big old ship. But you do need to add some aftermarket and do some reworking and so on to get the best out of her. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting stuck into that one at some point as well. It was nice to do one or two more modern ships, and obviously Illustrious is in living memory for most model builders. So yeah, interesting kit, and actually one of only two 1350 kits Airfix have ever done, which always surprises me. Always, when I think about it, I always go, really? But yeah, most of their modern ships have been 1600. So yeah, quite a nice little thing. As always, Airfix have a slightly different approach with their ship kits than most established 1350 manufacturers. And there's one or two, really, why have you done that sort of moments in there. But that could build up to a really special kit. Will take some work to get that done, but hey, it's not a race, it's all good fun. And then we ended the month, first impression wise, with the Gentleman's Scale 172 New Tool Mosquito. Wow, what a stunning little kit that is. That really took me by surprise, actually. I knew before I looked at the kit that the designer was the same person that had done their recent 172 Spitfire, which my daughter and myself sort of built together. She really enjoyed that build because even though the parts were tiny, the instructions were very clear, and it was easy to put together and easy to paint. And she did a stunning job of it. And so I was expecting it to be good. What I didn't realise was that there was some new innovation in there. So the little masks, plastic masks that pop into the undercarriage vents. I mean, if you've not seen the video, you must go and see it because that is a really, really beautiful kit. So the plastic is harder than usual Airfix plastic. Everything that Airfix historically, typically, stereotypically even get criticised for wasn't there. Everything that they sort of get applauded for was still there. So you still had class-leading instructions, you still have class-leading decals, but now you've got added to it some really good workable plastic, some very, very detailed, crisp, clear moulding. You've got some real thought into how we're going to assemble this, how's the modeller going to assemble this, how's the modeller going to clean these parts up. So the little interlocking exhausts, beautiful. Now, I don't know whether they've copied those off somebody else or not. I don't see every kit that ever comes out, but the idea is brilliant, and even if they have robbed it from someone and applied it to their kit, so what? The building experience was really, really going to be nice. So yeah, I thought that kit was stunning. When you consider the price and consider the scale, you get a lot of bang for your buck. And talking of beautiful aircraft kits, Wingnut Wings, Koter or Kotari, I'm not sure how they're gonna pronounce it, but that was an interesting little find. So somebody on a Facebook page, I didn't find this, somebody on a Facebook page that I'm a member of, it's just a very small group of people, closed group of people, had spotted it, and so I thought, well, okay, let's have a look at it. And when I looked at it, yeah, really interesting. Definitely got the Wingnut Wings crew. So in my video, I provocatively said, is Wingnut Wings coming back as? I don't expect that to be the case in reality. But in another way, yeah, it sort of is, because if you've got the Wingnut Wings team together, you're going to get something that comes out of that team that is of the standard of Wingnut Wings. They're not suddenly going to become shoddy manufacturers, are they? So, yeah, I think that is definitely one to keep their eye on. What is the big project? Well, Nigel seemed to think it's a World War II aircraft. So I don't know what makes him think that. I don't know what knowledge he has. But you know, he's closer to a lot of people in the modelling community than I am. So let's run with that and see what happens. If it's World War II, obviously some people will speculate that it's the continuation of that Lancaster that Wingnut Wings was planning. But it's just speculation. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. The reality is we've got some talented people all sat together again with an intent to produce some plastic kits. And that will be something very, very interesting to a lot of people. So I'm looking forward to see what comes out of that. If I see more coming out of there, I will check in periodically, then I will let you know. But yeah, and if anyone in Koter or Qatari want to come and talk to the channel at any point and let people know, my email address is on my channel. If you go and have a look in about, you'll find my email address. Pop me a line, and we can always arrange a little tete-a-tete and get an understanding of what you're trying to do. So the other video that we chucked out unexpectedly in August was our little visit to the Stoke-on-Trent model show. It was really nice to get back to a model show, I have to say. I don't actually do many model shows. I typically will do 3 in a year. So Stoke-on-Trent is about as far as I want to travel to a model show. It's an hour and a quarter, hour and a half if the traffic's really bad for me. So you're looking at 2 to 3 hours of travelling for a show that you'll be at for 2 to 3 hours. So it just about balances and makes sense. It's a reasonable size without being too big. So you don't need to be there for masses of time. Once you've gone around the tables and seen what they've got and just done the stalls to see if there's a bargain, yeah, it's a reasonably good show. I did see a lovely Space 1999 Hawk kit, and I ummed and ahed on it, and then I decided I was going to get it. I went back for it and it had gone, so there's a lesson learned, hey. But I did manage to buy myself Tamiya's old but slightly modified Yamato. So I've been umming and ahhing about Yamato for a little while, and the kit that I've got is the 2013 rebox of the original 1979 kit. Now, if you look on ScaleMates, it'll tell you that it has new parts. Well, don't get excited, because the new parts is only the stand. They replaced the stand from their standard 80s style stand to the newer, lower one. So it's the old kit, and I built it in the late 80s as a teenager, along with some other Tamiya kits from that era, all of which have some issues. But I've been umming and ahhing about the Tamiya Yamato for a while, because obviously in 2011, I think it was, they brought out their new tool Yamato, and the price of that is bonkers compared to the old one, which I think is why they keep the old one on catalogue and out there. Now, so the new tool one is about £220, £230 in this country, and the old tool one you're going to pay somewhere around £80 and £90, unless you drop lucky like I did and get it from a model show for just 60 quid. So I was alright with 60 quid. I wouldn't have wanted to have paid a lot more, because I know what's in the box. I built it. So you get we will do a first impressions, and so I'm not going to rule that. But what I want to do with the Yamato at some point is show everyone that you can take that old kit and turn it into something that looks really, really presentable. The only real difference is that you've got a much better level of detail on the 2011 kit, particularly hull detail. You've got the big moulding of the superstructure on the deck of the older kit gets broken down a little bit more. You get a bit more accuracy, you get additional parts. But you can get lots and lots and lots of aftermarket for the old one. So, and there's things you can do to sort the hull out, because what Tamiya do is they put the little, I've not seen I've not actually been through the box of a new tool Yamato, but I assume it's designed in the same way as their other kits. So they put the seam lines on that run the full length of the hull to denote the welding lines, but they don't do them to make them individual plates. So you still, if you want to, still need to do that. So at some point we will do an absolute go to town on Yamato, make it as best we can, and see if we can build that older kit, turn it into something stunning for less than buying the new tool Tamiya kit. Now, if you buy the new tool Tamiya kit, you still have to buy stuff for it. Even though it's their ultimate kit, you still don't get railings, I don't think, and you don't get degaussing cable, I don't think. So it's not ultimate in the same way that Revell do with their premium ship kit. So you get Revell's turpits, for example, and you'll get some wood deck, and you'll get some all the etch that you need, and that's it. It's done in one box. You don't need any more aftermarket. Obviously there is if you want to, but you don't need to. So it's not like that type of offering. So I think we can build a fairly decent Yamato with some aftermarket without having to spend as much money as we would do if we bought the newer tool one. And I've just had the Edward etch turn up, so we'll be going out and having a look at what else is around in the coming months, and put that together into a nice little build package. And of course the other highlight of the Stoke show for me was that my two daughters, my 9-year-old daughter Alice and my 15-year-old daughter Daisy, both exhibited their model kits. And a big thank you to Leicester Modellers for letting them do that for the time that we were there. My eldest daughter, put on a resin dragon that she's very proud of, and quite rightly so. She learnt techniques like washes and dry brushes on there, and it turned out stunning. The colours are the colours she wanted to do, so very much made it her own. And Alice couldn't decide which model to take, so she took 3, and she had the 2020 new tool Airfix 172 Spitfire there. She had another aircraft kit there that she painted in her own colours with a little racing stripe on. She brought an Aston Martin, which she painted in her own colours, which actually looks quite attractive. And that was another Airfix kit, so that went together quite well for one of their older car kits, actually. So yeah, that was the Stoke-on-Trent show, so that was good to see. Yeah, Telford is the next one on my list in November if it goes ahead, which I'm hopeful that it will. And then the other show that I tend to do is Bolton, because that's right around the corner from me, half an hour away. So we'll do that, and that's usually in January. So looking forward to that. That's a good show. It's usually on 2 levels. So if you fancy going to the Bolton one, you may well bump into me. Builds. Well, August kicked off with the Lysander. I was really disappointed with how that kit went together. Now, I said it all on the video, and I'm not going to waste time. Again, if you've not seen the video, go and see it. But the issues in that kit just keep mounting till you get to the point where, right, I've had enough. Now, I know some people would have just chucked it together anyway, and it's my issue, really, I guess, but I can't put something on a model shelf that isn't right. So I was more than ready for the Mogami, because we've got the builds that we've got on are all one way or another quite involved, even technically challenging in places. So I was just feeling like I was ready for a break. So when the Lysander stopped, the next thing we'd promised to build was the Mogami. So we started that, and that's ended up being what we've done for the rest of the month. And that's because it's just easy. It's just easy. I needed a break. I needed a headspace clear. So we pretty much parked everything and concentrated on Mogami. And that's motored along lovely. And it will do. It's a Tamiya kit, so it slots together like Lego. Bit boring. From a build perspective, it goes together nice. There's a little bit of clean up, but it's a bit boring, especially when you're building it out of the box. And there's less of ship because of the air deck on the back. So you've only really got 2/3 of a ship to build, and then you've got this massive deck, and then you've got 11 aircraft to build. But so it was absolutely what I needed mentally from a modelling perspective. That's what I needed. I needed something that just went together, and I could build it, and I got quick results, and that's just where I needed to be. So thank you, Mogami. That's been brilliant, and I've loved building it. I have properly enjoyed building it. Tried a couple of new things. So we tried painting the hull differently. Wasn't massively impressed with it. I think I'll go back to how I do it. And then we tried putting the railings on earlier than usual, and live to regret it. So I'll be going back to my tried and tested methods, but it's always good to try new things. So I've enjoyed the Mogami. You guys have clearly enjoyed the Mogami. It's had a lot of love. It's had the best viewing figures from the kickoff of any of my builds. There seems to be a lot of love for Japanese kits, or whether it's just because it's Tamiya. So I am being honest in that build, and when something's a bit rubbish, I am saying it's a bit rubbish, and there is some elements of that kit, typical Tamiya, it's a bit rubbish. We've got plastic ladders, and I can't live with plastic ladders. Some people I'm sure can, but I absolutely can't. And the wedge ladders, I can't live with those. And why they give you a combination of cable reels that are separate, and then cable reels that aren't. Someone said that actually one of them is hoses, and maybe that's right. I'm sure that's right. But why mould it to the deck? It doesn't look right. It makes the model look a bit like a toy. and that's what my issue is with it. It detracts from it. And we had those big areas with nothing on, no doors, no windows, no trunking, no pipe work, no electrical runs, nothing, just slabs of sides, and they're really visible. And it detracts from the kit because I'm absolutely positive it wouldn't be like that. And again, that's another Tamiya thing where they cut corners a little bit, where other kit manufacturers just wouldn't do it. Having said that, considering I built her pretty much out of the box, I'm really happy with how she's coming out. Right then, let's talk teasers. So, I'm continuing in August to look at the presentation of the channel and how I want to present things. And this comes out of a decision that we're going to carry on doing the channel. Now, as I've said in earlier roundups, so some of you amazing people that have been following from pretty much from day one, from when I had 10, 11, 12 subscribers, and there are people out there who have pretty much commented on every video since. Jeff, Sean, brilliant guys. More recently, I've had people come along and they'll pretty much comment on every video. So James, Peter, brilliant, and really helpful. That they're honest with me. So when we're on a live chat and I ask a question and say, "What do you think of the music?" They don't go, "Yeah, it's good." They go, "Yeah, well, have you thought about fading this, or have you thought about having the volume not so high?" So they've actually contributed to the continued success of the channel, and that's really great. And all constructive, positive feedback is always very welcome. This is my channel, and I'm going to do it my way. But the point of doing this is to share what I'm doing with you guys. So how you guys want to see it is important to me as well. I think we're getting there. So, as I've said previously, I started the channel to sort of fill a little bit of extra time during the pandemic. When we couldn't get out of the house, I had even more extra time on. So, time that I spent with my partner, for example, there wasn't any. We were just in the house, and so she did her thing, and I had more time to do my thing. So that's where the channel sort of comes out of. Then what I've found is I actually enjoy doing this as much as I enjoy building the models, strangely. Now, Ron, the model ship, he will quite often say, actually the technical part of videoing and constructing the videos and putting those videos together is what he enjoys. And it's almost that the model ship is there because he needs a subject matter. And it's almost the videoing is what I do, and I need a subject matter, and it just happens to be building a model ship. And I think that's why sometimes when you watch his channel, he goes off on tangents, because actually the focus is creating a video rather than the subject matter. But he is conscious that people are wanting to watch a model go together, and he does focus on that. And now I'm going off on a tangent. Anyway, now I've decided that this is a permanent feature, and it's something we're going to continue doing because I enjoy it. I wanted to put a little bit more effort into how that got presented and actually make it what I want it to be. So I have a number of people that have inspired me to do the YouTube channel, and we'll probably talk more about that in November, because in November the channel will be a year old, and we'll do something we'll pull a party popper or something. But I want to talk a little bit more about those people that helped me in the early days, because there's one or two people that stood out who inspired me to do this, and one particular individual that sent me some emails with some advice to get me going. for which I'll always be grateful, because it was brilliant advice, and it's a YouTube creator that I always watch and admire. So it was very nice of him to do what he did. But we'll talk more about that in November. Right now, what I'm trying to do is sort of file off the rough edges and get things where I want it to be. So in terms of presentation, we've been messing around with different musics, and what I'm trying to do is sort of get music for a genre, if you like, so aircraft music, ship music, so on and so forth. And what I've found is that you can do that to a certain degree. So First Impressions will always have the same tune now, and the Roundup will always have the original model kit stuff tune. So that'll stick with these videos. Other videos, First Impressions videos, build videos, that's going to change depending on the subject. So you take Mogami, for example, we've gone for some Oriental music, and one of them's called Samurai something, and the other one's called Movement of Water, or something like that. And they suit what we're building. The Queen Mary 2 videos, for example, I found a specific piece of music that absolutely says Queen Mary 2 to me. But actually it also suits ships. So it'll always be the Queen Mary 2 music in my mind, but we will apply it to some ships from time to time, particularly if they're not warships. Warships need something a little bit more deep and dark, possibly. So yeah, what we're trying to do is finish that process, and in August we've done a little bit of playing around. Now that also meant that we started doing trailers, and you might be wondering why trailers suddenly appeared. Let me tell you what the thinking is. So the trailer idea really came along out of the planning process for the Queen Mary 2, and we're going to talk Queen Mary 2 in a minute. But it's a fact that when I release a build video in that first week, on a daily basis, only about 20% of the people watching the video are actually a subscriber to the channel. So therefore, 80% of the people that watch that video have come across it in some other way. And that was likely to be, when I look at the analytics, a lot of it is actually YouTube chucking the video into people's streams who may be interested. So they've looked at a lot of Japanese warship model kits, they're likely to have Tone and Mogami pop up. If they look at a lot of generic modelling, then they're likely to get some of the other videos pop up. So this is how YouTube works. It looks at what you look at, and then it gives you suggestions based on what's that. And 80% of the people that watch my video in the first week have come to that video from another route other than subscription. And then in the second week and subsequent weeks, that 80% becomes a much higher percent, because actually what happens is most of your subscribers are, if they've hit the bell, are getting a notification and seeing it within the first few days when they get round to being on YouTube. So of my subscribers over the first week, most of my subscribers, if they're interested in that topic, will have watched it in the first week, and therefore everybody thereafter has never watched it. So the idea of the trailer is, it's a bit like flagging to people who may be interested, this is coming. So I'd been toying with the idea, how do I tell people who might be genuinely interested to see this, know that it exists? When you've got a lot of subscribers, like some other channels have, then that gets out there quite quickly. When you're a small channel like me, it's something that most people are going to have to stumble across. So if I'd carried on just doing the build video, then someone will come to that build video, maybe when the whole thing's completed, I get comments now on build seasons that have finished, and so they're coming to it 6 months down the line when they stumble across it because they're doing a search. So what I wanted to do is try and flag this is coming along, so that if people are interested, they can watch it from the start. So the idea of the trailer is to do that. So basically, the Queen Mary 2 trailers were a bit of an experiment. So what I've done is I've done 3 different trailers, 3 different lengths, with different wording to see what happens. So that they were called teasers. And then I did one longer trailer that was nearly 3 minutes, which gave you a flavour of, and only a flavour I might add, of what's coming along, so that if you are interested, you can hit it. Now, the subscribe and hit the bell type of thing, so that you don't miss it. Now, the other thing that I've done is I've started an Instagram account. So and the Instagram account is basically just a means of saying, hey, this is happening on YouTube. It's simple as that. I haven't really got time to do a proper Instagram thing, which seems that it's a lot less flexible than YouTube. I've not found a way of actually loading a video up onto YouTube. They have something called Reels. It's like a short run. But it's a way of promoting and particularly for the Queen Mary 2 build that we're going to do, it's been very, very effective because there's a massive amount of people interested in ocean liners, and it suits Instagram because Instagram is one or 2 pictures you put up and put a story. We've started Instagram really because of the Queen Mary 2, and found that it's been a fairly good way of letting people know what's happening on YouTube. So if you're interested in following me on Instagram, you're welcome to. I'm cunningly called Model Kit Stuff, so it should be easy to find. So yeah, that's what's happened with the teasers and the trailers, and they are here to stay because guess what? I really enjoy building them. I really enjoy putting those videos together. They're short, but actually quite time consuming because to get them right. So we did one for the Mogami build, and it just lets everyone, subscribers or not, aware this is coming, when it's coming, and what I'll always do is trailers and teasers, if I do them, will always be put in the same playlist as the actual build. So when you see a teaser or a trailer, if you're interested in watching the build that's coming along, hit the notifications in there, and you'll see the notifications for all of them. Okay, so that's enough talk about teasers and trailers. They are here to stay. I enjoy doing them. We'll do them ahead of every build when we plan it, or at least every major build. So we've not done one for the MiG, for example. But I might do. At point of recording, I have not loaded up the MiG yet, although it is all but finished. It's varnish and decals is all I've got left to do. So we might do a little trailer for that just for fun. Who knows? Okay, that's enough about August. Let's go September. So what is coming up? Well, behind me you can see the Queen Mary 2, and you know that's coming up. We'll talk about that in a minute when we talk builds. But let's talk first impressions. So this is sort of my plan for first impressions. These are what I'm going to film during September. So some of these you'll see in September, some of them you'll see in October, because some of the stuff we filmed in August you've not yet seen. So for example, the next first impressions video that you'll see will be the Queen Mary 2, and then after that you'll see the Mary Rose, the Celticraft wooden kit, which we talked about in last month's roundup, and then it will be one of these. looks like we're going a bit German really this month. We had a bit of a Japanese month, we're going a bit German next month. None of it really by design, just the way it is. So let's start with this. So we're going to start with this. So it is civilian, and it's red. And if you watch Harry Houdini, he will say, certainly when it comes to show, everyone loves the little red plane. And I've got to say, I'm a sucker for a red plane. So if they put a picture on a model box of an airplane and it's red, I'm quite likely to buy it because I like red planes. Don't know. But I think that looks absolutely gorgeous. Now this kit, when it was previously released, had a bit of a reputation for not being the best fit in places, particularly the above the exhaust area there, the top of the nose was notoriously bad by millimetres, not just a little bad, but by significant bad. So I'm interested to know, because I actually have this in another kit form, the earlier kit form that is bad, so I'm interested to know if they did something to correct that with this release. But I bought it because you get two very lovely options, silver and a red, and it's, as always with Airfix, they make it difficult, so you end up buying two kits. I've not so far, but if it goes together nice, you know, I could buy another, because I like both the schemes, but we will be doing red, because the red looks nice. As much as I like the other scheme, I like that one more. So a racing Spitfire in red with a Go Faster stripe, what's not to like? So we'll be reviewing that. And while we're on aircraft, we're going to review this, which I've been meaning to build for a little while. I can't remember the tooling date of this, but I like this particular aircraft. First jet fighter. It's a bit special historically, but I've always liked this aircraft, and I certainly built back in the late 70s and 80s. I had a little fleet of them that I built up as a kid in 1/72 scale. So I'm looking forward to revisiting this in the same scale, but knowing that it's a newer tool and what's changed. So that could be fun as well. So yeah, watch out for that. And we've not done too many 1/72 scale reviews. There is definitely more of those coming. And as we get closer to Christmas, we're going to do a review and possibly a beginner's build of one of those starter sets that come out in some of the supermarkets like Lidl and Aldi in the UK towards Christmas, those Airfix kits, and just have a closer look at those. So if you're thinking of buying them for your grandkids or whatever, you know what you're getting, or they're going to get. So that's that. And then we're going to go Berlin tram. Now, Ockery, if you build plastic kits, you may not be aware of them. They are a wood kit manufacturer, and they do wooden model ships. But they also, and I have one or two of them, and they're not bad kits at all, really. But they also do a range of trams. So I have two of their trams. I have this one, clearly, and I have the London tram, which is a double-decker, which I've actually started, and then I moved house and packed it up, and it hasn't been unpacked. So I need to come back to it at some point. Now this one also has a diorama, which is a massive, heavy fiberboard construction base and building, and what have you, with pavements and a road section for it. And the idea is it will look like Berlin, and with a Berlin tram in it. So at some point I'll dig that out and we'll tag that on. If I can find it in time for filming first impressions video, we'll tag it on as an aftermarket, because you do buy it separately. So this is, I would class it as a multimedia kit, but it's a wooden kit in basic form. So as you can see, much of the tram is built in wood, and then you've got a combination of white metal and brass fittings. So there's your sort of your fittings. That's all the stuff you'll get in there, and you get sort of paper decals and bits and pieces. So look out for that. It's really, really interesting. It's a very nice subject matter. Because the original tram was constructed of wood, the actual model itself is quite authentic. So you've got metal parts for the metal parts and wood parts for the wood parts. So quite authentic. So it'll be a very interesting little review for you. So and I think we're going to be wanting to build something a little bit different by the time we get to the new year, and some of those big ship builds are coming to a conclusion. So this may well end up in the mix. So beautiful little subject. And what Ockrey do, I'll talk more in the first impressions video, is if you register the kit, you get a free nameplate. So another first impressions video that we'll be filming in September is this one, the Admiral Hipper in her 1941 format, it says, which I think's I'm not quite sure of her full lineage of refits, but I think that puts her in her final guise, because obviously she got significantly damaged in 42 and was never really repaired, because of, at that time Mr. Hitler decided it was time to scrap the fleet, which also didn't happen, but it meant that investment in getting Hipper back up to operational status never really happened. She was scuttled by a crew at the end of the war, and ultimately scrapped a few years after the war. I believe her bell is in the Kiel Maritime Museum. But as German warships go, this one had quite an active war, one way or another. Saw quite a bit of action in the first years against Russian convoys and in the Norwegian sort of theatre. A nice ship, the first ship of her class. So the other one being the rather ill-fated Blucher, that is famous, and then the Prince Eugen, of course, which is probably the most famous out of this class of ships. And I have all three of those actually. You'll have already seen the Eugen First Impressions video, or if you haven't, go and see it, because I've got every aftermarket item available under the sun, I think, in there. So that's going to be a big build at some point. This does have some aftermarket that we'll review as well. I can't remember what I've got in there, but I certainly have some aftermarket. It's a nice little kit. This will end up being an advanced build when it's done, just because of the aftermarket stuff in there. We won't be doing any scratch building, I don't think. The kit in itself isn't too bad, so look out for that. Will be an interesting first impressions video. So, Queen Mary 2. As people are probably guessing, we're doing something very different with Queen Mary 2. We have the opportunity, it's a really rare opportunity, to be able to talk to the designer of the ship. Now, most things that I build as models, and I guess most of you out there are building things that are historical, and therefore the people associated with how they came about or how they were used are few and far between. So it's a really great opportunity to do something a bit different. Now, the Queen Mary 2 is the only operating ocean liner in the world. She's the largest ocean liner ever built. She's not a cruise ship. She can do cruising, but she's an ocean liner, which means she is actually built and designed to go across the North Atlantic, and as such, she's different and very special. So, the build series of this is going to be kicking off during September. So the next thing will be first impressions. Then we're going to talk about paints and art and various different things regarding the Queen Mary 2, which is the preamble to actually cutting plastic. So in those two videos, the first one we'll have a look at the kit, the aftermarket that we're planning to use, and we might give you that sort of understanding. and then in the second video that comes along, the video that comes along after that, we'll be looking at paint matches and what we're going to be using to try and faithfully represent this model as best we can. So, as you'll have gleaned now, if you've watched the trailers and you've watched the build introduction, Stephen Payne, the naval architect responsible for designing the Queen Mary 2, he's also building this model in the background, and between us we're bouncing back. Been working together throughout all of August, how we're going to put this together, what needs improving, what needs changing, what paint colours we're going to use, how we're going to go around scratch building, what additional materials we want, and between us we've put together a package that we think gives you a good standard of model. There's always more that could be done, but what you get with this is a good start. The kit itself is fairly accurate. Stephen was involved in the initial designs, or helped Revell to get this kit out, and it came out the same year as the ship went into operational service. So quite a lot coming on Queen Mary 2. Now, Queen Mary 2 is going to be the main build focus over the coming months. That does not mean that everything else is parked, because it absolutely isn't. What I usually do is I do a week on something, and then a week on something else, and a week on something else. And in August, we just focused on getting Mogami done, and I tried to do it in a month, which we did pretty much. With Queen Mary 2, we're going to do Queen Mary 2 every other week. So the other builds will still carry on, just a little bit more slowly. There is one build that's parked, which is the Warspite build. I have an issue with the Warspite build that I need to resolve, so that's why that one is being parked. And the issue is that I've broken apart and I need to replace it. So while I'm working that out, she's parked, which means Arizona and Fly will continue, and obviously in September I have just that little bit more time to focus on some of these things. So that's where we are in terms of this build. It is going to be special. The format is going to be different to my other stuff, because it's going to be part build, part design history and information. So it's much more immersive. You get a build experience that takes you where I think model kit should take you. So when you're concentrating on building a model, for me, you should get immersed into that subject, and I tend to, and I guess other people do as well, from what I see and how people talk, and we want to help you with that immersive understanding of this ship, of this kit, and give you something that's fun, informative, hopefully fascinating, and something a bit different. So I think that's it for this roundup. There's lots and lots coming in September. It's another busy month, as they always are. So look out for this. At the back end of the month we'll start appearing. Lots of great things coming along. I hope you'll be there to come and see what we're doing. In the meantime, enjoy your modelling, have fun everyone, stay safe, and we will see you very soon.